We'll admit everyone. I'm just going to mute everyone while we're doing the recording. And we will be prompt and get ourselves started. So welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day to join and discuss metabolic detoxification. What does that actually mean? And how do we use this to our advantage? So we will spend today discussing that a little bit. And just for those that I don't know, definitely recognize a lot of faces and names. And then there's some that I'm so happy to have some new voices and faces with us as well. My name is Natalie Ledesma, and basically my function is kind of like utilizing an integrative and functional nutrition approach. I develop practical and client-centered diet and lifestyle plans designed to promote vitality and wellness. My areas of focus are generally working with adults during and beyond cancer treatment, as well as supporting individuals who are navigating chronic health concerns such as fatigue, digestive issues, brain fog, weight challenges, all with a focus to increase energy, enhance, mental clarity, reduce systemic inflammation, balance blood sugar, and optimize digestive health. So welcome aboard, everyone. And, detox is one that I honestly struggle with, saying, because the truth is detox has become such a major marketing buzzword. And unfortunately, there are a lot of unreliable websites and companies and other sources that offer questionable content and products and methods that, could possibly do more harm than good. So I do think we want to be very careful and strategically opting to, go for things that we know are safe, but obviously also that are going to truly benefit us. So that's why I'm, very passionate about, what truly works, and also to make sure that we are safely removing, toxins and really working to kind of optimize our health and wellness. So I think definitely with the appropriate support, detoxification can offer extensive acute as well as long-term benefits for really truly reaching your ultimate health goals. So that's what we're looking at today. So what is metabolic detoxification? So generally speaking, we know that detox is kind of our body's, physiological process of, rendering various types of chemicals and compounds and hormones and toxicants less harmful. And our bodies naturally detox every single day. However, if our bodies become overburdened, and this is becoming an easier and easier situation to achieve, given our kind of different things, whether what we're breathing, what we're eating, what we're drinking, what we're not eating and breathing and drinking, that it can, have our systems really, desire having a little bit of a break. And we know that toxins are, lurking everywhere, unfortunately, in modern society. And, 92% of Americans have detectable levels of pesticides, in our urine. And sorry, I just continue to let people in here. 24% of diseases are caused by some sort of environmental exposure. And we know that there are 13 million deaths worldwide that are due to environmental pollutants. So this is what we're looking at, and how do we help to put ourselves in a healthier position today, doing things that, are simply just naturally what we can, we have to eat food. We hope generally that we're not living on pills and potions. We really are, really nourishing your system with true healthy food. So that's what we'll look at today, and with this group program later on this month and next month. So where do we, detoxify? We hear a lot about liver, we hear a lot about gut, and there are also a few other areas, but our primary detoxification organs are our gut and our liver. And so we know that we have stomach acid that obviously is very acidic, and that can actually work to kind of, kill off different kinds of bacteria. We have enzyme secretion, we have immune defense system, mucosal barriers within that intestinal tract, and we have our colon that's helping to absorb water and minerals. And, these are definitely going to be, after the rest of our digestive organs have kind of taken what they need, the colon's kind of there to help, in that regard. And there are the 5 R's, which is a strategic system to kind of really help to improve gut health. That's something that we'll be discussing within the group program. And the key is that digestive system, or our gut, is crucial to reducing the burden on our liver. And we know that liver is absolutely crucial for detoxification, for protein synthesis, for digestion. And our liver helps to make these toxins soluble so that we can appropriately excrete them through our kidneys via urine, or our digestive tract via stool. We also have our lungs, which are key to filter out carbon dioxide and fumes and mold and other kinds of allergens and airborne toxins. This is, crucial to kind of having things, go through our mucosal pathways. And we know that sleeping soundly promotes lung detox. One way that we can kind of even really help here is this something that we can okay, what can we do? I want to hopefully give you a few tangible little nuggets today. And we typically probably breathe about 15 to 18 breaths every minute. Work to slow that down and possibly even occasionally be okay, can I even just do 6 breaths per minute? You don't have to do that right this minute. But definitely make an effort today at some point. Okay, how many am I doing? And can I really take super, long inhales and exhales so that you can get it down to only doing 6 breaths a minute? That really helps to stimulate a rest and heal physiology, which is helpful, of course, for optimal detoxification and healing. So where else do we detoxify? Our kidneys are very hardworking organs, and they essentially are our liver's assistants in the process of detoxification and elimination. So it's responsible for it, meaning they are responsible for getting rid of excessive amounts of water and waste, and kind of being able to get through 150, 200 quarts of blood on a daily basis. So we know that it's crucial to have adequate hydration in order for our kidneys to have optimal kidney function, detox, elimination processes. And we know that plant foods, all different kinds of plant foods, vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, or whole grains, and so forth, all help essentially to have more of an alkaline effect on the body. And that helps to improve the excretion of toxins by the kidneys. Now, our skin, that's our largest organ, and skin detox is a little bit controversial. It's relatively minor compared to what is going on with our liver and our gut and our kidneys, but nonetheless, it definitely something we should, think about, because it is our first line of defense against environmental pollutants. And we know that sweat glands are helpful in excreting some sort of toxins, but there definitely are a lot of toxins that, unfortunately, sweat glands simply can't, get out. And that's where sometimes things will get stored in our tissues. So we also have our lymphatic system, and this helps to have the body kind of filter blood and eliminate toxins and infectious microbes and bacteria and viruses and other kinds of pathogens too. And this one here is an infographic. A little probably more than what you want, but just in case you're wanting a picture of something of how do these things, kind of work. But you can see here we have toxins kind of entering in from outside, going through different organs that we just, discussed, having our liver being that primary detoxifying organ, and then kind of where those things, kind of how we're able to kind of excrete those. And if we don't, and kind of looking at side effects and signs of different kinds of toxicity that could be the case. So what are we really needing to truly detoxify? We have both our what we call endogenous toxins. These are just, internal, but kind of normal, kind of things that just occur from our normal metabolism, intermediates that, just oftentimes can go through our system. And that can be gut toxins and just hormones. And hormones are essential. We just don't want to have too many or too little of them. Bile acids oftentimes being crucial with gut health, metabolic intermediates. And then we also have exogenous toxins, things that are coming in from outside in our environmental sources. This can be various kinds of medications and pesticides, industrial chemicals, different kinds of food additives, all different kinds of compounds. And last time I had looked, there were about 3 new chemicals that are introduced every single day. Hopefully, those chemicals are safe, but unfortunately, that's just a lot more that we are being exposed to on a daily basis. So we know we have different kinds of chemicals that are produced from agricultural production. We know that we have materials in terms of construction. We definitely smell it if we have new carpet or if we paint, that there definitely are lots of smells, which oftentimes can have some off-gassing effects in terms of different kinds of toxins. Of course, we can try to get healthier materials nowadays, but still we of course want to always leave our windows and things open when that's we're having different new renovations and so forth occur. A lot of different conventional household cleaners and also products that we're using on our skin. Smoke, not just in terms of smoking, in terms of cigarettes and so forth, but also just, even in terms of environmental smoke, in terms of our, wildfires and so forth, that can also be a significant source of exposure. We can also even have galvanic forces in our mouth that result from having mixed metals due to dental restorations and other kinds of materials that could be used in dental products that could be present and have an effect there. We can even have, personal hygiene products, as I mentioned, and then also air pollutants from industrial exposures to primary or secondary hand smoke exposure, and even auto exhaust, which we're definitely seeing, of course, a lot more electric vehicles on the road. And that's, fantastic to kind of reduce this auto exhaust, but we definitely see how particles from autos that, are gas powered or diesel fumes that can really exacerbate, respiratory illness and make symptoms much more severe and, are involved in terms of promoting inflammation. So how are these toxins, affecting our bodies? So we know that, just to kind of give you a little bit of a brief picture here, we can see, toxins that affect by binding to receptors, modifying DNA. We can even get into nutrigenomics and how what we're eating, what we're not eating affects the way our DNA is, impacted in lowering or increasing one's risk of different kinds of diseases, altering our enzyme activity, and also potentially can be a significant source of driving inflammation. Patini had asked, what about vaping smoke? And definitely, fortunately, vape, from my understanding, isn't going to necessarily impact others that are around that individual, but, undoubtedly, certainly is impacting the individual who is vaping, their lungs, just as much. And there's been some evidence to suggest that it may even be more so because, individuals vape sometimes even more, and the vaping, I don't even know the technical terms of what those little pods or so are called, but that they have quite a bit of nicotine, in them. So it could be something that we're still being, we want to be very careful about and continue to watch. But one advantage of vaping is that it doesn't negatively affect the air for those around, but not necessarily a safe option. There was even one study I was looking at that, so sad, but 287 toxic chemicals were found in the umbilical cord of newborns. And of those 287, 217 were considered to be toxic to the brain and nervous system. So there's definitely a lot that we want to make sure that we're being mindful of. Not that necessarily any of us are pregnant, perhaps somebody is. Many of us, I know that's not what we're looking for at this point in our lives, but definitely something to kind of think about in terms of how this can affect, offspring. And some more here. So how do we help to go about avoiding, toxicity? Yes, number one, let's work to kind of limit, exposure to environmental toxins. We know we can kind of choose, clean materials. We know we can use air purifiers. We can use water purifiers. COVID has definitely kind of brought to light that our inside air can be even more polluted than our outside air. So we want to also be mindful of our inside air. We can, depending on situations where protective clothing and or masks if we're around, toxins, or even those that, are sick. But I think we're becoming more if somebody's painting, it's easy to kind of just, put a mask on. I think we didn't used to do that. And now with COVID, we are a little more inclined to perhaps use masks more than we may have been, previously. We can opt for organic food, not that all pesticides or things that are used are, particularly, but we know that pesticides can cause all sorts of damage, to our health, particularly glyphosate, which is a common pesticide that we know can damage our DNA and lead to cell death. And then that's definitely, particularly if we're following a detox type of a protocol, the more we can incorporate organic foods, definitely a better option if possible. We can definitely look to choose, clean personal hygiene products that do not contain, parabens and phthalates and fragrances that we know can be harmful. And again, we know that we can't avoid everything. So we're just trying to make sure that we can do what we can in a reasonable way that doesn't have us, stressing, all the time about what we're not doing. Focus on all that you're, acknowledge all that you are doing to truly help, in this process. So what exactly would be the purpose of following a metabolic detox protocol? And in my mind, what I'm looking at is one, to make sure that we are providing optimal and sufficient nutritional support, that it can facilitate pathways that are involved in processing and excreting toxins. So I'm looking a lot at liver and gut in particular, but also lots of fluids. So we're helping our kidneys out. Certainly, if we have symptoms that we need to be mitigating or resolving, like fatigue or pain or balancing or improving mood, working to enhance cognitive function, not that we're going to be able to, double IQ, but more so just in terms of that mental clarity. We can work to improve our sleep, both the duration, but also the quality, work to kind of, clear up skin, in terms of weight, making sure we're balancing our weight appropriately, and just simply to have hopefully an increased sense of well-being, too. So what are some of the different, symptoms that we may be struggling with if we would be benefiting from a detox plan? They, of course, could range considerably. But when I think about different areas, I think, okay, is somebody really struggling, with fatigue, with digestive challenges, with craving, different foods? And typically when I'm meaning cravings, are you craving broccoli? Or are you craving sugar? Are we craving alcohol? Are we craving white processed foods? If you're craving broccoli, go for it. I'm not worried about that, but more so of other types of foods that we know are less desirable to really be trying to have more, in the system. Are we gaining weight despite eating healthfully and exercising and moving our systems? Are we struggling to, think clearly? Are we struggling to be able to recall names and feeling like it's taking you 3 hours to, complete a project that you think should take you 1 hour? Do you feel like your head is just heavy, and congested? Are we struggling with a lower or a lack of just kind of absent, libido? What about joint discomfort in terms of different aches and pains along that line? And skin blemishes, everything in terms of acne to rashes. When skin is a challenge, it definitely makes me question gut, because that's how kind of it may present. If there are gut disruptions, that may kind of present itself in the way of skin issues, from an eczema to, and a rosacea to acne and other kinds of, blemishes. So what we want to kind of do is figure out and create, okay, what would be a healthy detox food plan? And how would we implement that? And what we would be achieving by that would be, can we reduce those food triggers that are kind of setting us down a cascade, leading us to more of a negative, less desirable options? Can we choose a plan that's going to really help to optimally support our liver? Can we, make sure we're incorporating clean and organic foods? Make sure that you're, having adequate hydration, that we're going to provide lots of antioxidants found in those colorful plant foods. Support our nutrient-dependent pathways so that all of your nutrients are supported and hopefully optimized. Making sure that you're having, regular bowel movements, quite honestly, to help have a healthy elimination of toxins. Balancing hormone metabolism. Oftentimes hormones can be an area that, get sludged up. It's not that having too little or too much is necessarily the crucial challenge, but oftentimes it's more so of, is the system being able to properly clear those hormones, through the liver perhaps, or through the gut. And then simply looking at some ways that we can work to have a lesser toxic burden on our bodies on a day-to-day, basis. So that is the premise. We're continuing on, don't you worry, but this is just the premise of the group program that I'll be offering starting next week on Tuesdays at noon Pacific time. And we're going to be looking at specific nutrition guidelines, providing checklists, recipes, weekly planners, shopping lists, and more, so that you know exactly kind of what we're looking to kind of have in there. I'm going to give a couple different options from foods in terms of where people are and how to make sure that we're meeting you where you are and pushing you a little bit, but not turning your life entirely upside down. If you're somebody who is like, I do not want to be cooking, no worries. I've got another option in there that we can incorporate in there to work with one meal, even two meals. If you really don't want to be cooking, we can definitely make this work, for you. I will be recording all of these sessions, and we will be sharing, of course, those recordings with those that are in the program. And again, we know that there's no doubt modern society has this, heavy toxic burden on our bodies. And so this is just kind of helping us, take the time to work to detoxify our body, provide some much needed respite for our systems, work to kind of cleanse the body for unwanted chemicals and restoring, vibrant, health. And we'll also incorporate that last, and we'll do some gut health ones, some liver components, and then also looking at some clean products and also products and resources to use in that last one in terms of just everyday types of products. So if any or all of you are interested, love, of course, to have you join. We will be having lots of fun as we do for all of our group programs. And you can, definitely sign up on the web if you wish. So continuing on, I mentioned bowel movements. And for those of you who have worked with me in the past, we talk about poop, because not that I love to talk about poop, but the reality is it really is crucial to health, and it definitely is crucial to your ability to detoxify. So having regular bowel movements, ideally 2, maybe even 3 on a daily basis, but definitely having 1 really works to reduce our microbial load, bacterial load kind of on the body. It helps us to eliminate destructive endotoxins. It reduces inflammation. It helps to calm our brain and our nervous system. It allows us to be able to think more clearly, and works to kind of helps have that calm and even reduce chronic pain, levels. And if we're not able to move our bowels, then we know that the excretion of toxins is limited, because we, really are eliminating most of our toxins through our stool. So having, 1 to 3 bowel movements daily is really, crucial. And that also is why we want to make sure that if we're following some sort of detox protocol, that we definitely have a lot of fiber within that protocol. So yes, we definitely want fluid, but we absolutely need the fiber to bind to different kinds of toxins so that they're appropriately excreted in the system. If we follow a detox protocol that, is simply just liquids, or, lemon juice and cayenne pepper or something else, and you don't have that fiber, that's going to allow a lot of those toxins just to kind of circulate and possibly, wreak havoc on the system. So it's, definitely crucial to have that. And before we jump into any kind of a detox, it's very important to make sure that the gut is in a good position and that we're working to really improve gut health, or we may end up kind of leading more harm, than good. So we definitely want to make sure we are keeping in mind, gut health. Sure. One thing that years ago, I worked with the Women's Healthy Eating and Living Study. It was a multi-site controlled clinical trial down at UC San Diego, but it went to other sites, but the UCSD was the coordinating center. And I worked with that study for many years in graduate school and beyond. And at that time in the 90s, one of the things that I observed, but I'd be working with women. At that time, Atkins diet was big, and women would go on the Atkins diet. They would lose weight, but not have much in the way of fiber, have a higher fat diet, and I would see breast cancer recurrence. The number of women that I saw go on to Atkins, drop their fiber, and drop weight, and then have a recurrence was quite frightening. And so it definitely is something that I always want to make sure that whenever we're doing detox, whenever you're losing weight, even if your goal is to lose 3 pounds, be sure that you're incorporating lots of fiber day to day. That is absolutely a really crucial piece to incorporate. So what are some other tips that we can incorporate to help reduce our toxic burden? So we know we can eat a plant-based diet that is rich in fiber. And when I say plant-based diet, I've been using this term for over 20 years, and it seems to, in the last 2 years, kind of transition to being a vegan diet. And I don't mean a vegan diet, I mean a diet that has a lot of plant foods. But if there's animal protein incorporated in there, that is not necessarily something that I'm opposed to. I just want to make sure that you have a lot of plant foods in there, so that we're getting a good 80% of that diet with plant-based, and perhaps allowing others, in there as well. If we're choosing for animal protein, we definitely want to choose for things that are lean over fatty animal foods, because fats will oftentimes be a great source of a way that we can store toxins. If possible, we want to opt for organic. Particularly things that are higher on the food chain. So if you're consuming meat and or dairy, those are the most important things to purchase organic, even more so than your produce. Now, of course, I'd love to have everything organic, but if you have to choose, meat and dairy are the most important to opt for organic if you're incorporating those into your daily or regular kind of diet. Rinse produce prior to consumption, because you could use a produce wash, but definitely there are some things we could kind of rinse off even just simply with water. And we can talk about produce washes as well. Maybe remove, damaged or bruised areas on food so that we're not being exposed to molds. We can utilize the environmental working groups, Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 list. I think I incorporated that one in a little bit later on, and for the most recent list that they have published. Really do our best to avoid foods with preservatives and food colorings and artificial sweeteners. Limit our exposure to canned foods and plastic bottles. It can be a source of different kinds of compounds that could be incorporated in those, and work to kind of have clean, filtered water. Those are just some things that we can do on a regular basis that can be, helpful. Just reading through here, making sure we got everyone and everyone's in. So what are we looking to eat? I want you to have a diet that is rich in vegetables, probably double or triple the amount of fruits, but definitely incorporating perhaps a little bit of fruit. We want to make sure we're incorporating protein with all of our meals, and not that it's a 64-ounce massive, steak, but just, perhaps 25% or so of your plate. Healthy fats, whole grains, lots of different kinds of herbs and spices. Herbs and spices are our richest source of antioxidants, believe it or not. And then also making sure that we are appropriately hydrating ourselves with preferably, not too much in the way of caloric, caffeinated, alcoholic beverages. And we can talk about some different options there. So more specifically, preferably, organic vegetables and fruits, particularly colorful ones. you got to give a special shout out when we're talking about detox to your cruciferous vegetables. That's going to be your broccoli, cauliflower, kale, bok choy, watercress family. And then also the onion, garlic family are really crucial to kind of inactivate carcinogens and work along the detox, component there. But think color. One thing that I always try to achieve is every day getting in 10 different vegetables, fruits, herbs, and spices, 10 total, so that it's doable. Doesn't mean you're eating 10 full plates, but can I have, a salad that has cabbage and spinach and lettuce and broccoli and carrots and, just kind of adding in more and more different types so that you get in a variety, you get the synergy of these different components working together. This is the environmental working groups, 2022 Dirty Dozen and Clean 15. So for those of you that are a little less familiar, the Dirty Dozen are the 12 foods, or produce foods, I should say, that have the greatest amount of pesticides or the most toxic pesticides. These are taken from a sampling in the United States from all over. They do this, they publish these lists every year. And so these 12, if possible, I would opt for organic. If not possible, perhaps substituting a clean 15 item instead of a dirty dozen. The clean 15, on the other hand, are basically the 15 produce items that have the least amount of pesticides, the least amount of kind of toxic burden to the system. So in terms of organic versus conventional, the clean 15 would be a better option to buy, conventional than obviously the dirty dozen. So these are ones that, particularly if you're looking at an avocado, for example, and it's, $3 versus $6 for this, combination of ones, it may be that the clean 15 is okay to do that. If instead it's spinach, I think spending the extra 50 cents is definitely worth it, if you're able to do that. And it may be like, oh, I can't do that, or I don't have availability to that. Then we look, okay, what could I substitute? Instead of the spinach, I'm going to use cabbage because it's on the clean 15 list. Make this work for you. It doesn't have to be that everyone has to, follow some particular one, that you have to eat a certain food, that we all have to have a certain budget. Make it work for you. For protein, we do actually need protein because it's key for detoxification. High quality protein, so preferably clean if we're going for animal lean, grass-fed, organic, non-GMO sources. So that also stands in terms of plant sources. Wild fish, I always think about the acronym SMASH: salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, herring. Those are some of the least toxic fish, and they're all very rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which of course are amazing for us. And we'll talk more about those, later in the program. But also, possibly pasture-raised eggs, which nowadays are going to be quite expensive. I just saw a meme saying for Easter, for those that celebrate Easter, maybe we'll be coloring potatoes this year rather than eggs due to cost, but also different kinds of beans. Legumes are some plant protein options that are, high in methionine. They're rich in dietary fiber. Nuts also, but nuts, think about nuts as fat. Bonus, they give you a little bit of protein, but they're not giving you a significant amount of protein, but they definitely are providing you very healthy fats, but they do give you a little bit of protein, in there too. What about those healthy fats? The nuts and seeds, certainly, but also avocados, olives, and/or olive oil. We want to opt for minimally refined, preferably cold pressed, organic, non-GMO oils. You ideally want to get these in, a glass container, or some sort, maybe even like a metal container, but do your best to kind of avoid getting oils in plastic, because plastic's going to leach and it's a fat. So it's going to really want to soak that in. And then you've got plastic compounds that are going to be in your oils that you're using for your salads or for your cooking. So preferably you want to use a glass or some sort of a container that wouldn't be able to, have that. Kind of avoid the plastic containers if at all possible, particularly with fats and oils. And then also we want to make sure we're getting in perhaps some whole grains. That could be whole, preferably maybe even some gluten-free sources if we're looking through a detox pathway, as some of the gluten things could create more of an inflammatory condition, and making sure we're getting in, ones that are rich in dietary fiber. As I mentioned, the herbs and spices are some of our richest sources of antioxidants. They help to facilitate proper liver detoxification. They're great for digestive tonics. They enhance bile flow. Any and all can be fantastic. I just kind of highlighted a few. Again, think color, turmeric, bright yellow, orangey color. Cayenne, bright red, oregano, green. Garlic's an exception because it's kind of a white one, but that's a white food that you do actually, theoretically want to incorporate from a detox perspective, as long as your digestion can tolerate that. And then, of course, we want to make sure we're getting an adequate hydration because it helps to rid our body of these toxins. It builds resilience to stress. It works to enhance our metabolism. It promotes satiety. So sometimes, are we hungry or are we dehydrated? So making sure that we are definitely properly hydrating our systems, opting for lots of clean filtered water, perhaps adding in broths or vegetable juices, green tea or other kinds of herbal teas, all could be some great, options, there. We'll talk more of different pieces there. I'm just trying to put a list of some foods, on one slide in a reasonable size font that are all healthy things to kind of support the process of detoxification. So this is just a way of eating these different kinds of foods that are providing that support 24/7. So as I mentioned, those plant foods, particularly from the cruciferous and the allium or that garlic onion family, they are absolutely so beneficial in supporting phase 2 liver detoxification. But you can see here, we've got all different kinds of ones, from berries and citrus to different kinds of nuts, to salmon, to legumes, to tomatoes due to the lycopene, other kinds of herbs and spices, all different things that can support the process of detoxification. Now, if we are going to, really follow a detox plan, what are the things that we are looking to, eliminate temporarily? Some of the things you may decide you don't want them in there at all, but definitely temporarily. Generally speaking, these types of foods are going to typically promote a more pro-inflammatory, process. So we're looking at, limiting our processed foods, sugar, no shocker there, alcohol, gluten, dairy, and shellfish. Dairy is one that can be a food trigger for many. And so sometimes even from a GI perspective related to leak gut, if we pull things out temporarily, and then if we get the gut in a better place, oftentimes we're able to, incorporate some things without having a negative effect. But these are generally ones that we will eliminate. On the actual detox plan, I'm going to give you a very, very specific, list of the things to include, as well as those that we're looking to omit temporarily. And that we will do depending on what's going to work for you. It may be that you opt for a 2-week plan or a 3-week plan or a 4-week plan, or if you're a go-getter, maybe you even want to go 6 weeks. But again, kind of making it be something that we can have it work effectively, for you and for your lifestyle. I just thought I'd touch on, these are some different detoxification SNPs. What the heck is a SNP? A SNP is a little piece of your DNA. Technically, single nucleotide polymorphism, but you don't really need to know that term. Just know that it's a little piece of your DNA material. And these are 3 specific SNPs: the CYP1A2, the GSTP1, and SOD2. Again, kind of speaking a different language, I understand, but these are 3 that are particularly linked to our detoxification pathways. So this is something that, should you follow the detox kind of program, we may say, hey, let's take a look at these. If you've run, you may already know this information. If you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, Natalie. If you've run 23andMe or Ancestry.com by chance, we can look at your particular genetic SNPs by plugging in some data. And we can do that for no cost, at all. But the CYP1A2, this is particularly related to our ability to metabolize caffeine, or our inability to metabolize metabolize it depending on the system, and also different kinds of toxins, and that can play a role in our detox pathways. GSTP1, this is related to glutathione. Glutathione is sometimes known as our master antioxidant system. It also is key for liver detoxification. So we want to make sure that our system's able to kind of clear things appropriately through our liver. And then the last one here, the superoxide dismutase, or SOD2. This is particularly linked to our antioxidant defenses. These work to neutralize kind of harmful reactive oxygen species that are produced during normal metabolism. And we definitely see multiple research studies that link, SOD2, variants to breast health, prostate health. So it's one that we're always looking. It's not where, 20 years ago we thought, oh, we're dealt with our genes, we can't do anything about it. It's more of, let's empower ourselves. Here's where my genes are. Here's what I want to make sure I'm monitoring. Here's what I better implement because of the way, my genes are, kind of set for, my system. So those are definitely things that we will keep in mind. Some of you may be familiar with Dr. Mark Hyman. He's a physician, functional medicine practitioner on the East Coast. I just think that this is a nice kind of doable kind of thought process if you're thinking of, okay, what am I aiming to do? So just in one slide, these are what he puts together in kind of his daily detox goals of getting in 12 to 18 ounces of high quality protein, particularly that's rich in the omega-3 fish, unlimited non-starchy vegetables. So we're talking lots of different kinds of greens. That could be anything from spinach to bok choy to cabbage to chard to kale to watercress, others of that nature. Green beans, it could be onions, this could be peppers, it could be mushroom, all different kinds of ones there. Making sure we're getting in high quality fats, but keeping a limit to those. Incorporating a little bit of a low sugar fruit, but not having more fruit than vegetables. Again, we want to keep the fruit because of the natural sugars that it contains. I typically aim for double, triple the amount of vegetables than fruits. So oftentimes I'm aiming for 6 or more vegetable servings, 2 fruits, for example. And then, perhaps having a little sweet potato or winter squash, which I would say are my top favorite starchy vegetables. And that's particularly going to be helpful for satiety, obviously for fiber, but particularly if you're exercising, if you're trying to do something without any of these types of carbohydrates, you may find that you're like nibbling on your arm because you're so hungry. So we want to make sure, again, that we are being, realistic and making these things, work. So ultimately, if I were to put together, kind of daily detox strategies, looking to kind of drink, clean filtered water, other hydrating fluids, bone broth is excellent for, gut healing. We want to make sure we're consuming an anti-inflammatory diet, lots of plant foods, rich in omega-3 fatty acids, the herbs and spices, watching sugars and so forth, eating greens. Figure out a way that every day you have dark leafy greens, whether you're eating them raw, you're having them cooked, you're making them into a green vegetable juice, you're putting them into your smoothie, you're on the road and you're having a greens powder, but some way you want to have lots and lots of dark leafy greens. That definitely is, definitely a key one. I think it's excellent to start the day with a little bit of lemon water or apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar contains more of an acid called malic acid. Lemon, of course, has citric acid. You could do lime, too, but these acids help to open up our bile ducts in the liver and the gallbladder, and that makes them even that much more effective of kind of working to kind of clear things out in terms of a detox kind of process. I was talking with a patient earlier and they mentioned that they were doing a tablespoon in the morning of apple cider vinegar and it was kind of bothering. So maybe that's a little bit too much. Maybe just do a teaspoon. But yeah, if you're feeling upset afterwards, it's probably a little bit too much. Taper down the amount that you may be, using, or if you're using a tablespoon, perhaps put it in like a larger container and kind of drink that in the morning, but kind of drink a little bit more, throughout, the day. Be sure that we're active, be moving, engage in regular physical activity. We want to, again, have our regular bowel movements. The exercise will help to hopefully ensure that that's the case. We want to hopefully get outside for fresh, clean air. In the California realm, we're actually seeing sunshine the last couple of days. I think we're going to maybe get some more rain tomorrow, but then maybe some more sunshine, but it will be quite crisp out there, even though I know we need the water and we need that rain and we loved it. But at the same time, it's nice to see some sunshine out there as well. Possibly, if you have access to it, even an infrared sauna can be helpful in eliminating toxins that are able to eliminate via sweat. So things like cadmium and mercury and lead and arsenic, nickel, aluminum, cobalt, some of those are ones that infrared saunas are able to, really work with, and that can be particularly beneficial. Possibly utilizing the process of intermittent fasting, and that could be as simple of, can I get 13 hours overnight from dinner to breakfast without eating? That can be a starting point. If that's super easy, go for 14 or 15, and maybe you vary it up. But we'll definitely talk about pros and cons and kind of ways we can use that from a detox perspective. And sleep. Can't emphasize enough how crucial sleep is, not only for your energy levels and for your sanity, but it really is basically our brain's way of cleaning house. So it really is crucial to make sure we're getting an appropriate amount of sleep, not just lying in bed, but that you really are getting high quality, sleep there. And this is a drink that I have been drinking just recently that I've liked for a quick, simple kind of green drink. So I primarily love my juicer, so I tend to do a lot of green juices, but if you don't have a juicer, this is one that you can throw together literally in a matter of seconds. And I actually used lemons more recently than lime, just because I had fresh lemons. That this is literally, you can make it, really quickly. I have not added the monk fruit or the honey. But if it's just too, kind of a little bit too tart or bitter for you, that could be an option just to kind of help you to get in a way of being able to support, organs for detox, alkalize the body. Again, greens are absolutely crucial to kind of push you more to that alkaline state. Very helpful in supporting our immune function, which is crucial right now because there are flus and bugs and all sorts, COVID, of course, and other things kind of around at this time of the year. It also helps, of course, to, hydrate you. And you may even be like, okay, I'm going to try this every day for 5 days. Like, don't say you're going to do it for 365 days. Do it, make it doable. 5 days in a row. How do you feel? What do you notice? And then when you do, make this, you don't want to make it for 5 days. You can kind of prep it, but you really kind of ideally want to probably drink this within 15 minutes, or so, just so that you have the active components and the enzymes, all there. And that one. So that was kind of the drink that I was, referring to, on the, another way of getting in some other drinks, but I definitely love my green juice, too. So, just kind of going back, a couple of questions came in. When I talk about an overnight fast, does coffee in the morning count as breaking that? So if it was black coffee, Zoe, technically that would be okay. If it's Starbucks white, I don't even know the names of them, white chocolate mocha, no, that's going to definitely break a fast. I think technically you want it to be under 40, 30 calories. So if you keep the, carbs kind of low, but if it was a black coffee, you had a green tea, you could still kind of stay, in that process of the fast. And green tea has even been shown to help improve the process of autophagy, which is cellular rejuvenation. So that's oftentimes an important component related to detox as well. And that could be something, in there too. Another question had come through in terms of familiar with recommendations to eat liver supplements or frozen pieces of liver. What are your thoughts on this? So liver is amazing in terms of it being one of the, not only our key metabolic organ and, key for detoxification, but it naturally is also one of the richest dietary sources of so many different nutrients. The challenge is that if you just go to, buy a liver, you're like, well, you're getting all the good and the bad. So you want to make sure if you're incorporating liver that you're definitely getting organic, liver, because you want it to be very, very, clean. And I'm definitely open to individuals incorporating organic liver in the diet. Some love it, many not so fond of it. So if you don't, there's nothing I feel like you have to eat. I want you to eat foods that you really enjoy. Now, if you only eat KFC and McDonald's, yeah, I'm going to say, no, we got to switch things up. But if you have enough healthy things in your diet that you really do enjoy, I feel like, yeah, there's, certain ways that we can do that. But he's using that liver as a really, key kind of protein and kind of really helping to kind of get in some crucial nutrients that are very helpful in supporting the liver process. And we'll talk more about that, particularly the session that we talk about liver detoxification and hormone balance, in there as well. And let's see here, is tap water a no-no? Preferably, I try to do a filtered water. I mean, I just simply buy a filter to put underneath my sink. So every time I turn on my sink, it is filtered. I don't think in our area, meaning in the Bay Area, we need to have reverse osmosis per se. Reverse osmosis definitely takes out all the bad, but it does take out some of the minerals too. So keep that in mind if you do use a reverse osmosis system. But a lot of it really depends on our water system and how clean or how not clean, is it, in the system. So that can be, a crucial, piece, as well. And then a question did come in, on that list in terms of red wine, is red wine an exception? Red wine, because of the antioxidants, has been shown to have some beneficial properties. If we are following, a detox protocol, then yeah, we do take out, all alcohol, ideally, temporarily. So, I oftentimes hear of January as dryerary, not, having some alcohol. And it may be that depending on, where things are, for you, can that just simply be, a little bit less, and, or do you take a break, for a week, or do you take a break for 2 weeks? I oftentimes, whatever I suggest for you all, that I'm doing it too. So, I actually just came off a week of a pro, and I'm like, okay, I got to make sure that I'm super, super extra clean in January. And we'll also be implementing the, protocol when we start next week, in terms of the different kinds of food guides, there. So that's something that definitely, with this group program, if in interest, we can also make kind of a group program kind of list in terms of a, kind of not an email, but a group way that you guys can communicate with one another. But again, that first session, we're going to be going over particular food protocols as well as supplement options to help enhance this process. And you can kind of look at your schedule and feel like, okay, when can I embark on this? Can I make it 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? Then we'll kind of dive in talking about the gut in more detail. Then we talk about the liver, and then we talk about kind of just clean products that we can get, around. And again, my idea is we want to get, it's a new year, so let's get a clean energy boost. We know that these toxins can kind of slow us down. They make us feel tired. They make us feel worn out. And yes, we can support our own body's natural ability to detox. And we are just looking, because of the extra burden that our systems, take in due to different kinds of toxins in our current modern, world, that we can get you feeling more rejuvenated and energized. So, we will work with those who want to only go through in terms of food, those who want to have the most limited amounts in terms of cooking, and really make sure that we can make this program kind of work the best for you as an individual, as a group, but definitely as an individual. And so we can certainly work on, the timing of things. And, I always hesitate, like I said, because the detox can be such a buzzword. And I do want to make sure that I qualify that in terms of really making it a truly healthful, safe, and clean way of detoxing the system, that it is something that I think you can use to truly reach your ultimate, health goals. And so absolutely love to have any of you or all of you in there. If you have questions about the program, like I said, definitely be, recording it, and that will go out to those that are part of that program. And if you have questions, feel free to kind of ping me if I don't get through them in this, through the chats. I'm obviously reading through the chat ones right now. Since we have a couple minutes, what else do I got on here? What about liver meal from Norm's restaurant? I don't know Norm's restaurant, so I'd have to look and see, but my guess is that it also is kind of along the same kind of process as the Dr. Hyman, kind of, again, using the liver to help provide you with absolutely essential nutrients in working with this clearing, process. Can I repeat the SMASH fish list? Good question. Sardines, mackerel, anchovies, salmon, herring. So many of those are little fish. So they also are ones that are clean, no time to kind of soak in any environmental contaminants or metals or anything like that. Salmon, I would say preferably, definitely, if we can get wild salmon. I know that there are some farms that are trying to be a healthier option, but I still would favor a wild over a farmed. Shellfish sometimes in this regard is because they can be a source of contaminants, and a lot of them are farmed. So just, again, making sure we're getting clean. Typically speaking, it's not something that I feel like you can't have shellfish. Sometimes shellfish can be a trigger from a food perspective, a lot of sensitivity. So it may be that we take it out temporarily, and then when you add it back in, you're like, oh, I tolerate it, no problem. And then you can kind of keep it in there. But for some individuals, they're sensitive to them. And so they may take it out to kind of make sure that that's not a trigger for them as an individual, situation. Tomatoes, in terms of nightshades. Nightshades are a tough one. And I'll do two more, and then I'm going to, sign off here. Generally speaking, the nightshade vegetables can have very healthful ingredients. So that's your tomatoes, your white potatoes, all different kinds of peppers, eggplant, paprika, ashwagandha. But if you're sensitive to nightshades, you may find that they make you particularly feeling achy, where it's, kind of flaring up arthritis. And if that's the case, then definitely we may want to hold those nightshades. If you don't find that they cause any problems for you, then it may be something that's perfectly fine. If you have an autoimmune condition, it may be that we want to do a trial and kind of see, are you sensitive to nightshades or not? Because frequently autoimmune conditions can be linked with a higher potential of a sensitivity to the nightshade family, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to eliminate. But if you feel better without them, by all means, keep them out there. Lemon juice. I'll actually kind of use lemon juice and apple cider vinegar. I think kind of, if, you can kind of alternate and kind of use, both. There's arguments for kind of both, kind of what you have access to, what your palate, enjoys, and kind of, I use both, kind of, substituting through. What about cod liver oil? Generally speaking, for most people, unless you're eating a lot of those smash fish, you may be low in omega-3 fatty acids. We can even test for omega-3s, but it may be something that we want to incorporate an omega-3 supplement. One thing with cod liver oil, traditional cod liver oil, we do want to be careful of, because liver can be a good thing, but then liver could also be a source of toxins. So we want to make sure that it definitely would be one that's very clean. I typically use kind of like just one that's, had the third-party testing, molecularly distilled, making sure that it's, super clean of contaminants, but also very potent for the EPA, DHA, the key pieces, and the omega-3s, in there. All right. I think so I may have missed something. I apologize if I did, but I tried to get through a variety of those different ones. But thanks again for everyone for joining today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Happy New Year to those who I haven't spoke to just yet, and carry on. And hopefully I'll see you all next week in the surefire strategies to optimize your health. So I'm going to stop it here and stop our recording, and I'll get the recording off for those of you who signed on late. Don't worry, I'll get this recording off to you as well. So take care, everyone. Have a fabulous rest of your day, and be in touch. Bye-bye.